Hey guys, this is going to be my September wrap-up, so all of the books that I read in September, and my October TBR of all the books that I'm going to read or plan to read in October. Now, I actually managed to read 14 books in September, which is insane, and I actually had a goal to read 50 books this year, and I surpassed it this month. So I have 3 months to just add on to that, and that is crazy to me because like last year I had the same goal and I was like scrambling in December to read enough books. But I want to point out that of those 14 books, at least half of them were read for school. Like I do not have enough time to read that much like on my own. So I think I had a goal of like 5 books. I typically like have 5 books in my TBR, so I read about 7 if we don't include school books. So I mean it wasn't that much more than normal outside of school reading, but when you add school reading in, it was a lot. So I'm going to go through all the books that I read this month really quickly and tell you the star rating that I gave them on Goodreads. The first book that I read this month was Praying in Rome, Reflections on the Conclave and Electing Pope Francis by Cardinal Timothy M. Dolan, and I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read this month was for my adolescent literature class, and it was The Boy in Striped Pajamas by John Boyne. I don't know how you say his last name. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars as well. The next book that I read this month has an extremely long title, but it is Author Use Book Promos and Discounts to Create Buzz for Your Book, 140 plus free and low-cost sites to promote your book. And it is by Catherine Marika Sullivan. I don't know how to say that. But I gave this 5 out of 5 stars, but I did not review it because it seemed kind of pointless. But if you are like an independent author, I think this is a great book. The next book that I read this month was also for school. It was for my humanities class. It was The Iliad by Homer. I don't know why I'm looking for an author's name, but it's translated by Robert Fagles. I cannot say authors' names. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I mean, it's The Iliad. And then I read 52 Tips for Freelance Writers by Karen Baines, which I gave 5 out of 5 stars, and I think it is an excellent book for anyone who is a freelance writer or is considering going into freelance writing. The next book that I read in September was actually a book that I reread for my adolescent literature class, and that is The Giver by Lois Lowry, which I gave 5 out of 5 stars. It is one of my all-time favorite books. I personally think that everyone should read it because it is just one of my all-time favorites. Next book that I read in September was Solo Command by Erin Alston, which is the 7th book in the X-Wing series. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I had a review on it. I still have the place marked that I talked about in that review. Not the best of the series, but I did enjoy it. And then I read How to Make Money Blogging by Nick S. Buchanan, which I gave 5 out of 5 stars to. If you're a blogger, I would recommend checking that out. And then I have Seneca, The Tragedies, Volume 1. We did not read all of these for my humanities class. We read 2 of them, and I think there's 4 in the book. But I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I actually was not expecting to like these as much as I did. I think it's the only Roman literature that I've like ever read, and I thought it was entertaining. It helps that they were shorter, but I liked them. The next book that I read this month is an ebook, but I do not have it downloaded on my Kindle. I read it on my computer, so I don't have anything to show you, but it was 4 to 16 Characters by Kelly Hur. Okay, I don't know how to say her last name exactly, but it's Hourihan, so Horian? I'm not really sure, but I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. It doesn't come out until November 7th. I read it through NetGalley, so I'm going to do a review of it, but closer to when the book comes out in about a month, or a little more than a month. So I'll have a more detailed review of it. The next book I read in September was also for my adolescent literature class, and it was The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian by Sherman Alexie. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. It's now one of my like all-time favorite books. I just loved it a lot. and John Paul II for Dummies by Reverend John Trigilio, Reverend Kenneth Briganti, and Reverend Jonathan Toborowski. I need to get better with authors' names, but I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. If you're looking for a book about Pope John Paul II, I think you can probably find better books, but I already talked about all of that in my review. It was good, but not the best. Then for my adolescent literature class, I also read Slam by Walter Dean Myers. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. I didn't necessarily, I don't think it's a bad book, but I was not very interested in it, and I could see other people it was just it was a sports book, which isn't really my thing, and then it seemed like really stereotypical, things that happen in every sports movie or book or whatever, so I didn't like it that much. And then the last thing that I read this month was for my humanities class, and that is Beowulf. This translation is by Seamus Heaney. I have no idea how to say it. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. It's Beowulf. This, the Iliad, and Seneca and whatnot, I have no idea how to rate them because it seems pointless to rate them. But yeah, that is all that I read this month. Now we're going into the books that I'm going to read in October. There are 2 books that I'm currently reading right now on my Kindle, and I'm going to have 5 books on my TBR in addition to that. Obviously this isn't including school books, even though I have some idea of what I'm going to be reading in school. I didn't bother to look into that for the purposes of this video, but I am going to have more books than this because of school. The first book that I'm currently reading on my Kindle is 50 Ways to Protect Your Identity in a Digital Age. I didn't look at the author, which would be extremely convenient, wouldn't it? It's by Steve Wiseman, I guess is how you say it. And then I'm also reading 31 Days to Happiness by David Jeremiah. They're both on my Kindle, so I can't really show you anything because I don't want to lose my place in them. But I'm reading both of those at the present time. And then I want to start on Izzard's Revenge, which is the 8th book in the X-Wing series. This one is by Michael A. Stackpole again. It was the first writer of this series, and then Aaron Alston wrote the books, and then it goes back to Michael A. Stackpole. And like I said before, this isn't the last book in the series, but this is the last book that I have, so I don't know when I'm going to get the 9th one, but I really, really want to finish that up this month, and then try and get the 9th, but I don't know when that's going to happen. And then I want to read How to Start an Online Business by Street Smart Publishing. Not necessarily because I'm trying to start an online business, but along with some of the books that were in my wrap-up. It was a free book that I found, and so I decided to read it, to see what it had to say. So I may not read all of it, depending on how I feel about it, as I read. I have City of Bones by Cassandra Clare, and okay, so I've had this book for a really long time and I've been planning to read it. And then for my adolescent literature class, we have to choose a book that we to read and then present to the class and stuff like that. And I chose this one because I'd had it for a really long time. And with the movie just came out, and now apparently the second movie's not being made and whatnot, it was a good timing to do it. So I'm technically reading this for my adolescent literature class, but it's also a book that I chose for that class, and I've been planning on reading it anyway, and I'm going to try and read it a bit before I need to for that project, just so that I'll have it read already. And then Kindle Publishing Tips and Tricks by Iwan Dranik here. The author has a very interesting name. This is another one of those free books. I've said before, I enjoy writing, and I don't necessarily have plans to, self-publish on the Kindle, but it's, an option that I like knowing about, so hopefully that book will have some good information. And then I want to read the Darwin Awards Next Evolution Chlorinating the Gene Pool by Wendy Northcutt. I've had this book for a while too. We talked about my junior year of high school, in my AP biology class. We talked about the Darwin Awards like several times and I became really interested, and I got this book. This is the only like Darwin Awards book that I have, but I haven't read it yet, so hopefully I will this month. So those are all the books that I read in September. The books that I'm planning on reading in October, we'll see if I actually get further than that or if I'm even able to get through these books. But I will see you guys later. Bye!